afternoon. Welcome to the coldest Q A quite possibly ever.
It's about negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit where we're at in Alaska, and this is the shortest day of the year for us.
Our last Q A was about a year ago. We've lived in Alaska for over a year now, and we figured it'd be a good time to do another Q&A. We're just going to try and go over a lot of the common questions we get. There's probably, a few we're not going to answer, but we're going to try and address most of them.
Let's get started. These first questions are going to be both of us answering them. First question, what is your favorite thing about Alaska, and what's your least favorite thing about Alaska?
My favorite thing about Alaska is the scenery. I absolutely love it. The landscapes, all of that, and especially the weather ties into that. But my least favorite thing about Alaska would have to be how cold it gets. The area we're at, it doesn't really get colder than negative 30, but negative 30 is cold. So that would be my least favorite thing.
I think my favorite thing about Alaska, probably my number one thing, is the fishing is awesome, so I really enjoy that. And my least favorite thing is spring thaw when it gets extremely muddy around our property.
He hates the mud. Another question we get a lot is, are we lonely where we live?
No, I don't think we get lonely at all. You get a little, I don't know, I guess you can get a little bored sometimes, but we usually just always have plans and we're always pretty busy. So yeah, I don't think we ever get lonely, but we do have each other and our animals.
I agree with Eric, and he kind of jumped into the next question, which was, do we get bored? And the answer to that is no, we stay pretty busy, and I don't feel lonely because we have each other and because we have our animals.
Next question, do you guys see a lot of wildlife, or what kind of wildlife do you see, and do you have problems with wildlife around your property?
We're fortunate to not have any wildlife issues on our property. That doesn't mean that will always be the case, but it generally has not been an issue. We don't have issues with, bears or even foxes and smaller critters coming in, or wolves. And with that being said, we have seen lots of wildlife, but it's usually not at our house.
Some of the things we see a lot of moose, we've seen coyote, foxes, bear, and we see a lot of eagles.
Next is, what is our favorite season and why?
That's gonna be summer for me. Summer is like a whole nother world here in Alaska. I think we get over 21 hours of sunlight, and it's just shorts and flip-flops the whole season long. So summer, definitely for me.
Although I agree with Eric that summer is totally awesome with the long daylight hours, I prefer winter. Not the cold, but I prefer the scenery in winter. It's just stunning. So to me, that's my favorite season.
Another question we get a lot is, can you guys see the northern lights where you live?
We can see the northern lights where we live. We do have a pretty good area where it's dark and there's a good northern exposure. We don't see them very often because they're hard to predict, and you have to stay up till like wee hours of the morning. And I'll set alarms and check, but I don't always get to see them. We have seen them on a few occasions, and they're absolutely beautiful too. One thing I'd like to point out is how big Alaska is. It is a huge state if you've never had the opportunity to visit or take a look at a map. So a lot of the questions that we're answering, even though they are our personal lifestyle, they're also relative to where we're at in Alaska, which it varies a lot, whether you're in the south or the north end or in south central where we are. Next, we're going to go over some of our most common questions. First one is, why did we move to Alaska?
Why did we move to Alaska? There's a lot of reasons we moved here. We had a good thing going in Oregon, but we wanted kind of a change in our lifestyle. We felt that we were working too much to pay things off that we weren't going to own for a long time, such as, mortgage and things like that. And we came up with this idea to move here, and we're in the situation where if we did move, we're going to be able to pay for every single thing we own and be able to live just a smaller, simpler life and enjoy more of our time together doing the things we want to do.
And that ties into our name. So it wasn't necessarily that we were just downsizing, but that we were going for a more simple life altogether. And I know a lot of you guys see it and you're like, you don't live simple at all, or you live in Alaska, that's not simple. But it's the mentality, and that's what we were going for. We have a lot more time now, so we get to enjoy things more thoroughly, I guess.
And I'd say the number one question we get is, how do we support our lifestyle financially?
So I don't want to disappoint you guys, but we're not going to go into depth on that. I don't know if this is really the appropriate video to do it, nor if we want to. But I will say something that you probably already know, is that it's very much a simple equation, or at least that's how we view it as. Whereas you have a certain, income you're making, and you have certain expenditures or expenses. And once you take those and you have what's left over at the end of the day, that's what we're focusing on. So we're focusing on having less expenditures, which ultimately means we just need to bring in less. A lot of times we want to make more money and have more stuff, but for Eric and I it's quite the opposite. We're just figuring out how to live with what we have and basically minimal lifestyle or minimize things so we can get away with needing less money. Another thing you guys want to know is if we have family in Alaska and if they visit us and what they thought about us moving.
No, we do not have any family in Alaska. Yes, they have visited us before and they're going to continue to visit us, and they pretty much just think that we're pretty crazy. They thought we were crazy when we moved to Oregon, and I think us moving to Alaska was no different. Another question we get is, what do we miss the most about our old life back in Oregon?
So the one thing that I miss the most, it's kind of a complicated answer, but it is the fact that we missed out on certain things because we were so flippin' busy with our lifestyle, the way we lived, and it was all things that we made choices to do. But what I mean by that is we were left with very little time at the end to really consciously focus on things. So I miss the things that we didn't get to do, or maybe something that I wanted to do but was kind of on the back burner. And I know that sounds weird, but that's the truth. It's the things that we missed out on rather than the things that I specifically miss. We also get asked quite a bit about our living situation. So first is, how big is our cabin?
Our cabin is 320 square feet, not including our loft, which is 160 square feet.
How much land do you live on?
Our property is 3.6 acres.
Do you guys have water at your cabin?
We have a well that we use our generator to pump that into a holding tank inside of our cabin.
Where's your bathroom, and do you have a shower?
Our bathroom is an outhouse. It's about 25 feet from our cabin, and yes, we have a shower. It is an outdoor shower, and it uses our on-demand water heater.
Where do you get your electricity from, and how do you power certain things?
We've done videos in the past on installing our own solar system, and we've gone over it and kind of our review and our take on it. So that's what we use. We use our solar system, and when we're not getting any sun, we have a small generator that charges up our house and our solar batteries.
How do you have the internet?
We are lucky enough to get cell phone service at our cabin, so we just have one cell phone, and we turn on the mobile hotspot, and that powers our laptop and gives us the internet. Another question, was it difficult for you guys to transition to like a small cabin life and living off grid?
For the most part, it was not difficult to transition. There definitely was a big leap and a change, but Eric and I didn't have a microwave before. We didn't have a lot of appliances, and we lived pretty minimal before even then. We didn't even have our houses in the past full of furniture, so we've always kind of had that approach to life. So I think that this transition wasn't a really big deal. It did make some things a little more challenging and difficult, but we both enjoyed it for the most part because it provides a little bit of a limitation and more of an appreciation.
We get a lot of questions about things that we have already made videos on, so this next section's kind of answering those questions. What have we accomplished this year so far?
When we first moved into our cabin, it was a dry cabin. The first thing we had done was have a well drilled. We also put up the solar system, had a Connex delivered, and got settled into the cabin, so to speak. And when spring came along, we knew we wanted chickens. We built that coop. We put the high tunnel up and got that whole garden area prepped, and we had a really awesome garden this year. We also put in the root cellar. And of course we got bees, which was a really fun experience for us. With that being said, there was of course things that we didn't accomplish that we maybe had plans for. Eric was going to answer what our future plans are, maybe things that we want to tackle next year.
Yeah, so our plans always change. I mean, we want to do certain things, and some things we get to, some things we don't. One thing we really want to get to is we want to get a woodshed built. We want to get the root cellar kind of squared away perfectly. We're still kind of doing some trial and error with that thing. We want to grow our flock of chickens. We want more chickens in the future. We obviously want to continue to get better at hunting and fishing, and we want to do a lot more exploring next year. Another thing that we have plans to build is a nicer outdoor shower area for us.
Still rustic, but nice. And one thing I forgot to mention is that we did buy a little property lot that we really like, and we do plan on working on this year. We kind of fell short of that this year.
Yeah, we really didn't get anything done on the newer property or our second property this year. But plans next year, our goal is to have a driveway cut in and an area cleared where we can put a cabin out there.
Absolutely, that was our plan last year, but this whole thing is being flexible and learning to just do things as they come and change your priorities. Another question we get asked quite a bit is if we're going to add more livestock, or will you have dairy goats or a cow. And when Eric and I were looking at this property, Most of it is a bog, so it's really not appropriate for, heavier animals, pigs, cows, things like that. And we also back home in Oregon raised chickens and pigs, and we kind of wanted to branch away from that. We really want to hunt and forage more, and we don't want those limitations of having farm animals. So we knew when we bought this property that it was basically setting ourselves up as a limitation, as a boundary. So we just have what we have, and I don't foresee us getting any sort of big animals like that in the future. Maybe possibly some pigs and raising them for meat. I don't think goats are in our future because of the commitment they would require in keeping them.
Yeah, all those things would be awesome to have, but like Ariel said, the main thing for us is those things are just going to be kind of holding us back if we want to go on, a few day-long fishing trips, week-long trip, whatever it may be. The chickens and our animals are already holding us back enough, so I think we're just going to keep with what we have.
And I think holding back is a good term, but the truth is that we both like to take care of what we have, and if our priority's not on that and it's on something else, then we're really, it's slightly neglectful. You're not spending as much time and energy on those animals as you'd like.
These are some more kind of specific questions we get, and one we get a lot is, why don't you guys get a wind turbine to help out with your solar panels? We have looked into it, and the way I'm seeing things is if we're gonna do one, we wanna do a nice high quality one, and those ones are not cheap. I did look into just getting a cheap one. They didn't have the best reviews, and my main concern with them, or not really concern, but it was more of shelling out some more money, was I was gonna have to get a whole new charge controller to be able to run that turbine, and that's not something financially we really want to do right now. Our solar system actually works really good for us. It might seem like it's kind of small, we might kind of say it's even small, but it works out really good for us. So just right now financially, a wind turbine is just not in the equation for us.
Another thing that we also get recommendations on is the rocket mass heater, but we have a wood stove and it works great. So we kind of are in that situation with what we have works fine. There's really no need for improvement in efficiency or anything like that at the moment, at least, right? I mean, we're both pretty content with it, and we appreciate those boundaries.
Yeah, we have a really nice earth stove, and it's a 1988 model, but it's in really nice condition, and it's really big. We love cooking on it. So unless something happens to that stove, we are not going to do a rocket mass heater.
Come on, dude!
Another question we get is, how much does gas cost up there? And then I'm also going to throw in, how much does propane cost? Gas right now in Willow, where we live, is $2.90 for a gallon, and propane is right about there, just under $3 for a gallon of propane.
These next questions are geared more towards our filming, and it is our gear. What do we film with? So we have a Canon 80D, that's our main camera for filming, and we also have a GoPro Hero 7. We have the DJI Spark drone that we really like.
And touching on that subject, we get a lot of questions on kind of who does what with the filming and editing.
Do you do your own editing?
Yeah, do you do our own editing? I do the bulk of the editing on the computer, and Ariel is more into the filming, so she does most of the filming for us.
I like more of the photography aspect and things like that. Eric films too, obviously, but we're kind of a team with him being the main editor. Another question we get is if we watch YouTube and what channels Eric and I watch.
We do watch YouTube. I think for me, mostly when I'm watching YouTube, I'm more trying to find an answer to something.
Learning.
Like, whether it's like fixing something that's broken or just trying to find some knowledge for something I don't know. But I know a couple of the channels that we enjoy watching together. My Alaska Dream, we've watched him since before we moved up here, and we also like watching Living Off Grid McCarvey Style, and Almost Homestead is another one that we like to watch.
Yeah, Jay and Jen are in Washington. We like them a lot. Really funny couple over there. Ron from McCarvey Style is in California, I believe, and Brian's down in Southeast Alaska. Just really cool because you get to see a really different transition of the areas of Alaska. You know, where we live is entirely different. It's a totally different part. And then there's other areas of Alaska that other folks have YouTube channels that is also entirely different, and they live in a totally different way.
So that's just a few of the channels we watch. We do watch a lot of other different channels when we get the chance. So this last section is a little different. It's kind of like a speed round. I wrote down a couple kind of questions for Ariel to answer, and she's going to answer them kind of as quick as she can. Are you ready?
And I don't know them.
She doesn't know these. Okay, this is kind of a multiple choice for her. Ready?
Ready.
Meat or vegetables?
Meat.
Okay, coffee or tea?
Ooh, coffee.
Okay, warm or cold weather?
Oh, warm.
Okay. Taking pictures or filming videos.
Oh. Photos.
Okay. Planting in the garden or harvesting from the garden.
Planting.
Okay. Lowe's or Home Depot.
Lowe's?
Okay, and then this last one is pick one other place in the world that you would live.
Somewhere very tropical where it's warm and I could scuba dive.
Okay, that's it.
My questions for Eric were going to be more based on maybe helping someone who's looking to do something similar to what we did. My first one for Eric is, would you do it all again?
Yes, I would. If you're talking about just our whole life again, I feel like our whole life, every decision we've made has led us to some pretty awesome spots. And we weren't just born knowing all these things that we know, hunting, fishing, processing, farming, gardening. We've learned all of that. We didn't come from a background of any of that. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I would definitely do it all over again, every single step of the way.
I just meant Alaska, but that's good.
Okay.
So I was referring a little bit to about moving to Alaska, but that answered it.
Okay.
So what would you do differently if we moved again and now that we've been here?
That's hard to say. It would have been really cool to buy just a piece of land and build a cabin exactly the way we wanted it. I might have done that.
Had that experience?
Yeah, and I also think it would be really cool to live somewhere more remote than where we live. And by that, I mean somewhere where you can't get to by a car. You have to either use a snow machine or an airplane.
Yeah, we had to be pretty practical when we moved. We really did not want to limit ourselves as far as income goes. What about when you move? Would you bring anything more or less?
Man, there's been so many things I can't even remember off the top of my head that I was like, gosh, why didn't we pack that? And then some things I'm just really thankful that we did bring. So,
Did we have room?
yeah, we just didn't really have a lot of room to bring a lot of stuff. But I feel like we also brought stuff that I was like, why did we bring this?
About 22 dog blankets.
Yeah, we brought a ton of dog blankets. We bought 6 dog beds. I mean, yeah, it was hard. You know, it's hard to let go of some stuff that you really like, that you don't use a lot. And then it's hard because we just didn't have a lot of room to move up here with.
What kind of advice would you give to someone looking to do a similar move, perhaps to a different state or Alaska?
The advice I would give you is save up, be debt-free, have a big savings, because no matter what, it's always going to cost a little more than you think. And the other piece of advice I would give you is don't just sit around talking about it or thinking about it, just do it. I mean, we made that decision, and from the time that we decided, let's sell everything we have here and let's move to Alaska, I mean, it was like in 2 months we were up here living. So, I mean, don't spend time saying, I want to buy this boat, and just think about your whole life. Get the boat and enjoy it, you know, move and enjoy it.
Good words of advice. And if someone's looking for land, what's the most important thing in your opinion?
You want something that you can actually go out and look at before you buy it. You don't want to just go off of the pictures online or what Zillow says or Craigslist, wherever you're looking at the property, because we learned coming up here visiting before we moved here, the property that we saw online was nothing like the property actually was in person. So that's my one piece of advice. Get up and actually put your eyes on the property before you buy something.
And what is your most appreciated or valued, I'm going to say like modern convenience or luxury at our current place?
That is a pretty easy one, but it's going to be having running water. We go through a ton of water, not just during gardening season. And if you live in a normal house like we used to, we didn't really realize how much water we used. Here in the cabin, we do realize how much water we use, and it's really nice to be able to just go out to our well and fill our holding tank in our house and have our sink in the cabin and have running water. So that being said, if you are looking for property, it's really nice if you can get one that you can get a rig in to drill a well, or you have some sort of spring or a river or a lake on the property to get your water.
And that usually isn't that difficult to meet here in Alaska, since there's so much water.
There's a lot of water around here.
We hope that we shed light on some of the questions you guys may have had. And again, I just like to emphasize there are like myths on Alaska, and it's the living here is so different from Anchorage to, you know, if you're someone who lives out in a village. So it's just good to be educated on that and know that there's lots of different climates. It's not all the same one way.
Yeah, I almost compare it to Alaska being its own lower 48 in the United States. I mean, there's so many different areas here. Right now where we're at, it's about -10. You can go north and it could be about -50. You could go south down to Juneau where it's like a rainforest and it rarely gets below 0 degrees there, and they don't have any snow on the ground yet. So it's a huge state, and there's a big diversity on just weather and climate.
Absolutely. We wanted to end with saying thank you guys for watching, subscribing, liking, all of that good stuff. Just watching is a big thing to us. It means a lot. You know, when we first set out to do this, we were just hoping to share our journey. I don't really know what we were thinking, but we were just maybe hopeful that one person would see it and be inspired. So it's really come quite a long way, and we really have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, and it's awesome that you guys are enjoying our videos, and I think one of the coolest things about having this channel is when someone says, hey, I made that recipe and it turned out awesome. So we really enjoy sharing our knowledge with you guys and learning along the way.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's always very humbling to hear those stories.
So we're gonna get the snow machine fired up, and we're gonna head to the truck and head home and de-thaw ourselves.
We'll see you guys next time. Most important part.
Oops.
Babe, shh. The frustration level when it's this cold is like 0 concentration.
Do you think you could tie your shoes right now? Do you think you could clean someone's teeth right now?
No, no, I was trying to film and I literally couldn't even like stay
When I was in
still.
Talkeetna trying to pay the lady, I could get the dollars apart. You weren't recording.
No, I wasn't.
No.
I wasn't.
No.